We're joined first by Austin Murr. Just a few reminders before we get started. If you do have a question for Austin or later for Coach, please use the raise hand function. We will get to as many questions as possible. While we wait for some questions to pop in, Austin, why don't you talk a little bit about what it means to you to be here in Omaha with us?
Yeah, first off, thanks for having me, guys. It's been a pretty remarkable week so far. Getting here the other day, it's been a pretty surreal after last weekend in Arkansas and coming back up here. I'm a Midwest guy, so coming back to the Midwest is certainly pretty fun, and I have a lot of friends and family here.
Thank you so much. We'll go to our first question from Jared. Jared, please unmute yourself and identify yourself by your name and affiliation. Thank you.
Austin, you could kind of tell yesterday in the video that Jeff Gravely put together that you were sort of juggling the having fun out there in Omaha with the every day is game day type mentality. How do you balance everything with that in order of taking it in? This is Omaha. This is a special place. This is a very special time in the college baseball player's life with still knowing there's a job to be done.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a juggle, but also, I mean, every day you play the game, and I'm fortunate enough to keep playing this game. You're supposed to have fun every day, and if I'm not having fun, why am I playing? So if I'm not having fun, why am I playing? So just that's kind of our mindset as a team. Really, is just every day we have a job, and our job is to get 1% better every day, but also have some fun and keep playing the game we love. So.
All right, thank you. We'll go next to Evan Bland. Evan, please go ahead with your question.
Hey, Austin. Evan Bland here from the Omaha World Herald. Congrats on making it. You mentioned Arkansas last weekend. I guess I'm curious, how helpful is that experience in that kind of a crowd for this weekend and acclimating to another big stage and another big crowd?
Yeah, I think certainly it'll be a little different this week with last weekend just being 11, 12,000 people all rooting against you. I think it might be a little bit different here, but still it's another big stage, another opportunity for us to play, and we're certainly looking forward to it.
Thanks.
Just a reminder, if you have a question here for Austin, please use the raise hand function. In the meantime, while we wait for a couple more questions, Austin, can you talk about one of your favorite moments from this season, whether it was on the field or off the field with your teammates?
Yeah, probably certainly last weekend was a blast. Just losing that first game by a lot, by 19. That was rough, but being able to bounce back the last 2 days and win those games to get here was certainly incredible and amazing. And it's kind of a show to kind of how our season's gone so far. We started off 1-8 and 1-8 in the league, 4-9 overall, and the first third of the season wasn't great, and there was a lot of downs and not pointing fingers, but it was a lot of frustration and stuff, and we just kind of kept getting to work and knew that wasn't us, and we had bigger goals, and just to keep working hard because we knew how good we are and how talented we were. So the second and thirds of the season were certainly a lot better. And I think it was pretty good showing, just like last weekend.
Thank you. Let's go next to Mike Toper. Mike, please go ahead with your question.
Hey, Austin. Mike Toper here from Spectrum News 1. Similar to your first question, I was wondering, a lot of teams have, maybe a ritual or, whether it's a belt or something. Do you guys have a thing or things that you do to kind of stay relaxed or, especially when you get on a big stage like this?
We do smelling salts before the games. I think that's pretty fun. But nothing really. We just try and stay loose as possible, whether we're up or we're down. Never get too high, never get too low throughout the game.
Hey, Austin, I'm going to ask you another one. You talk about the slow start to the season, losing big in that first game against Arkansas. So many teams would probably fold under those kind of situations. To what do you attribute I guess, the ability to come back? Is it the senior leadership or the coaches or a philosophy? I mean, how have you guys been able to bounce back so spectacularly time and again?
A little bit of everything, I'd say. We certainly have unbelievable coaches, and they believed in us throughout the year. I think also we got a pretty experienced team and pretty old team, so I think a lot of guys, not me personally, but a few guys have been in this program 3, 4, 5 years. This is only my second year in the program, but they've been through ups and downs, and to just keep your head down and keep working hard.
Let's go next to Alyssa Ray. Alyssa, please go ahead with your question.
Super excited for you guys, but how excited are you for Coach Avent to be able to bring him back to the College World Series?
Yeah, that's awesome. That was our goal at the beginning of the season. We were hoping for an ACC championship for him, get his first one. We were unable to do that, but this we had bigger goals in mind after we lost that ACC championship game, and certainly this was goal number 2 on our list. Number 1's to come and win it, but goal number 2 was to get to here, and we did it, and we got a shot now.
All right, we still have a few minutes with Austin. If there are any additional questions, please go ahead and raise your hand. Let's go to Bill Steckis. Bill, please go ahead with your question. Bill, if you can go ahead and unmute yourself, then you can ask your question. Looks like Bill might be having some audio problems. So let's jump over to Jared. Jared, go ahead with your question.
Austin, again, going just back to the pageantry that comes with making a trip to Omaha, is there any part of your experience here so far that has lived up to the hype, or or just kind of dropped your jaw? Has been seeing TD Ameritrade Park? Is it visiting the surrounding areas? I know Elliott likes to make it an experience. Has there been any portion of this trip so far that has just floored you?
Yeah, I would say it's pretty surreal for sure, and it almost hadn't really set in until we just went out and practiced. I'm right here. It's I think every day, whoever I talk to on the team is like, I can't believe we're here right now, and so it was kind of pinch yourself. And so once we went out and practiced here, hit some BP, took some ground balls and stuff, we were really able to hey, we're really here. We saw the logo out in the bullpen, out in left field, and really everything in the last few days has really been outstanding. Whether it's the escorts to the hotel or just everything. We had dinner the last few nights, and it's a pretty nice spot. So.
Thank you very much. Let's try Bill again. Bill, go ahead with your question.
Yeah, can you nod if you can hear me?
Yes, we can hear you just fine.
Okay, great, thank you. So this is a different question. You guys used the term family in the past, and Coach lost his dad at the beginning of the season, and it really hit him hard, and he was so close to his dad. What does that mean to you, and how close are you to your dad?
Yeah, it was certainly right before the season started. It was a tough few weeks for all of us, just seeing what he was going through and just trying to be there for him as much as possible. We know how much we mean to him, and baseball means to him, and his dad means to him. And so it was certainly it was rough. It was really rough. But we just tried to be there for him as much as possible, and just everything he does for us, and how much time and how much effort and how much he cares and loves about us. It was hard to see him struggling like that, and right before the season. But back to my dad, he's the same way for me. He's been with me through everything. Just growing up, playing baseball, hockey, football, being there, supporting me for whatever I was doing. He works nights in the summer when I was growing up, so he wasn't able to see many of my baseball games. He was there for 2, 3, 4 innings and had to leave and go to work every single night. And I'd always he was working at a drive-in movie theater, and I'd always head after the game and grab a hot dog and talk to him, and we'd catch up on the first few innings, and then I'd fill him in on the rest of the game. And so then on the weekends and stuff, we'd play at 8 a.m. and he'd turn around at 5 a.m. and come and sleep in the parking lot and come watch me play at 8 a.m. and be up there and trying to stay awake for those hours before he could go back to bed in the car for a few hours before my game at noon, and then before my game at 4 until he had to go to work again that night. And so really everything he's done for me, it's been incredible, and I would certainly not be here without him.
Thank you. We have time for just a couple more questions. Alyssa, did you have a follow-up?
Yeah, I do. You kind of touched on it a little bit, but just the resilience of this team, whether it's coming back and, turning around the regular season or getting blasted in game 1 and coming and upsetting the number 1 team in the country. I mean, can you just talk about this team's resiliency?
Yeah, I mean, I talked about that. I think I got interviewed after the 3rd game of the year when we lost, but we're a resilient and confident group. I think we've been that all year through our ups and downs, and we had a rough stretch in the beginning of the year, got swept 2 out of 3 series and lost the other series. It's something that we feel like we're battle tested now, and we can get through anything, and we're never ever out of it. And so we always feel like we have a chance, and we're gonna fight as hard as we can till that last out.
All right, thank you. It looks like that'll do it for questions. Thanks so much for joining us, Austin. We really appreciate your time today. We will be joined shortly by head coach Elliott Avent. So if you have a question for Coach, you can go ahead and raise your hand now. While we're waiting for Coach, just a reminder that all press conferences the recordings will be posted on the Digital Media Hub at www.ncaa.veritone.com. We will be joined by Coach shortly. Thank you. Thank you again for joining us for today's press conference with NC State. We'll get started shortly with head coach Elliott Avent. If you have a question for Coach, please use the raise hand function and we will get started shortly. Thank you. Hi, Coach. Thanks for joining us today. Before we get to questions, do you mind giving us a brief opening statement about making it to the College World Series?
It's just, there's no words to put in perspective what this means to our players, the players that are on this team, the players that have been here before, the players that have come close to getting here and it just didn't work out. This represents so many former and players and the current players here that it's just Omaha is a place that when you say Omaha, everybody knows what you're talking about. It's like this town does such an unbelievable job nothing stays in one place forever. The only thing I can analogize to make this seem what it is the Masters will probably always be in Augusta, and Omaha, the College World Series will always be in Omaha, and it's because of what the people do here to make this special. And when you come here, you can't describe the welcoming and the everything that's involved here, and the players have to see it and feel it for themselves, and it's just a remarkable experience.
Thank you, Coach. We're going to go into some questions now. Our first question is from Alyssa Ray. Alyssa, please go ahead with your question.
Yeah, Coach, can you just speak to the resiliency of these guys, whether it's turning around the regular season or coming back, down in the series to upset Arkansas in the Super Regional? You guys just always kind of believed in yourselves, even when maybe no one else did.
Yeah, it becomes in believing in each other. You have to buy into a team concept, believe in one another, commit to one another, understand what the game is all about, understand how you have to respect the game and compete with the game, but you can't compete against the game because the game wins every time. And I think our players understand that. I think we have unbelievable leadership from the older guys in our program who have brought the guys that maybe haven't played in college as long, and they brought them along with leadership and showing them the way. And these guys grew up through the season, and now the confidence level of this team is at an all-time high.
Thank you. Let's go next to Robbie. Robbie, please go ahead with your question.
Hey, Coach, good to talk to you. Just interested first in a couple of things regarding Terrell Tatum. What did you see from him when you were recruiting him out of high school? And also, what's he meant to this year's team specifically?
Well, first of all, Coach Hart, Chris Hart heads up our recruiting and does such a fantastic job along with Clint Chrysler and the rest of our staff. So Coach Hart was responsible for Terrell, and it's obvious what he saw in Terrell as a guy with elite speed. He's an electric player, just a high twitch, quick twitch guy. And the ball just comes off his bat a little bit differently. The sound of the ball off his bat's a little bit different. And he got stronger, especially this year. And that extra strength turned him into a different hitter. But he's a guy that can do a lot of things, and he's been a big plus for our ball club.
All right, thank you. Let's go next to Bridget. Bridget, go ahead with your question.
Hey, Coach, good to see you. For you being there and just kind of finding that balance for both you and your team about the excitement around being in Omaha, being in the College World Series, how do you balance that and getting them ready to play and be there for the next couple of weeks?
Well, you don't do what this club's done over the course of the last 3 months, and there's not a person who gets this team ready to play. They get themselves ready to play. Like I said, this has been leadership of the highest level of what these guys have done, their belief in one another, their respect for one another. And so players get it done. And you kid yourself if you think as a coach that you can say something or do something that's going to make a difference in this time of year. What they've done to get to this point is who they are, and who they are is what's going to allow us to do as well as we can here with 7 other you got the best 8 teams in baseball left out of I don't know how many, and a lot of programs do it very, very well. I don't know whether it's 286, 282, but there's a lot of money put into baseball in college now by each program, and they realize the popularity of baseball. It's a revenue generator at some point, and so it's baseball is exploded on the college scene, and so you got 8 of the best left who are probably playing their best baseball of the year, and so you're gonna have to play very well. Mistakes will be magnified, lost opportunities will be lost, and you're gonna have to play very well to stick around this tournament.
Thank you. We'll continue with some more questions. Just a reminder for the media, if you could state your name and affiliation before you ask your question, we would greatly appreciate it. Let's go next to Evan. Evan, please go ahead with your question.
Coach, Evan Bland here with the Omaha World Herald. Congrats on making it. Just looking at this game against Stanford here to start. I mean, it seems like you guys are two power hitting teams with that play some strong defense. How do you kind of break down this matchup and what it might take to pull out this victory to open it?
You know, Stanford is probably, I've heard, one of the best Stanford offenses ever, and we know what Mark Marquis did with that program. Stanford was Stanford was always Stanford, you know? It was Stanford, it was Texas, it was LSU. Those programs were always talked about, Oklahoma State, Florida State, and legendary programs. And now they say this might be the best offensive team with Stanford in a long, long time. And the pitching's been outstanding. They play great defense. So there's no flaws on that team. And when you get to this point, you don't expect a lot of flaws. But it's going to be a great challenge. Opening day, I understand their pitcher is tremendous. And I think he has an older brother pitching in AAA. And they say his younger brother's probably a little better. So great challenge tomorrow. But with great success come great challenges, and we're looking forward to it.
And I guess one other, if I could, you know, by this time, most years, the Major League Draft has occurred and people kind of know who's been chosen, where they are. Obviously not the case this year with that being in July. And I was curious, as someone who's been around the game as long as you have, what do you see maybe the pros or the cons being of the draft being later this year than it ever has been?
Well, obviously, all these players, you know, you talk about their future. This is their fun and their enjoyment, and there's no other time in a baseball player's life where they won't say college was the best years of their life. And but now you're talking about their livelihood at the next level and what they're going to do for the rest of their lives and how they're going to make a living. So obviously, it stays on their mind constantly. And so with the draft move back, it's still on their mind, trust me, but it's not occurring at the same time as the College World Series. So I think that's going to be a little better. I think in that respect, it's going to be a little better.
Thank you.
All right, let's go next to Jared. Jared, please go ahead with your question.
Elliott, it's Jared at RAL. Building off what Bridget asked, in regards to referencing the former players you had, some of the guys who didn't get here and the teams you didn't have get here, do you tell your guys to soak it in now as opposed to maybe a couple of years down the line, because this is such a special place? This is such a special achievement that you guys have accomplished. To enjoy some of that now and let that atmosphere sink in, to enjoy the accomplishment in the moment, or do you just let that fly?
No, I think you want to enjoy it all. I think you want to soak it in, and I think they have. I don't know whether you're talking about Ted and Wally's ice cream shop or you're talking about going to the Drover restaurant for the best steak you've ever eaten in your life, but you need to soak all this in. Walking out, the thing I'm going to miss the most, and when we came here last time, visiting the children's hospitals, doing the community service, meeting some of the great people of Omaha, those were things I missed from this time because of COVID. Walking out with the opening ceremony like the Olympics, carrying your school's flag and walking out with the other teams, that was a special moment. But I employ them to soak all this up as much as they can. And when it comes time to play the game, you got to play the game. But right now, they need to soak this up because this is very special. I was told when I came here to do this interview that Colt Morton, one of my former players, who that team should have gone to Omaha. He hit a 2-iron in the middle of the night to get us through a great regional, and then we had to go to Miami, and we lost 2 heartbreaking games in 11 innings to Miami, and Ryan Braun hit a walk-off home run. And so just going out there and hugging Colt Morton and seeing his son and talking to his dad, that's very special. All former players, whether they came here like the 13 team did or the 68 team did, all former players feel a part of us being here because they know they laid the groundwork and they highlighted the path that allows this team to get here. And they're all appreciated and they're all a special part of our program.
Thank you. Let's go next to Mike. Mike, go ahead with your question.
Good morning, Coach. This is Mike Toper from Spectrum News 1. Very nice to see you. You mentioned Stanford tomorrow, who obviously I know your mind is on, but at this point, do you get any chance to look at the other teams in your bracket, or do you guys kind of take it one at a time?
Well, you obviously look, and you're this time of year, you're deciding your pitching rotation and who you're going to go with, so you look at them. But, everybody's great here. If you try to get too far down the road, you can never focus on where you are. And that's what we always tell our players. Think about where you've been, think about where you are and where you want to go. But you have to live in the now, and you have to focus on the now. And if you get too far away from that, then you're probably going to have more problems that you didn't need to have. So we're right now focused on Stanford. Obviously, we know who's in our bracket. Just got through talking to Tim Corbin out there with Vanderbilt and about his ball club. And like I said, there are 8 great clubs here, and there are 8 great clubs that have one thing in common. They're probably playing their best baseball of the year. So we'll focus on Stanford and then see where we go from there.
All right, our next question comes from Alyssa. Alyssa, please go ahead.
Alyssa Ray, WNCN. Obviously, the goal now is winning, but can you just speak to what this exposure does for your program as far as recruits watching and just kind of putting you guys in the spotlight, being one of these final 8 teams here?
Yeah, it helps, there's no doubt. We have a great recruiting class coming in next year and 2 years from now because you recruit so far out in advance. And I saw one video of a player that's out playing right now, and the reporter asked him that question, what do you think of the team you've committed to in Omaha? And he had all great things to say, and he's watching us. And, yeah, those things help. There's no doubt. And recruits that right now that haven't made their decision, the transfer portal, which created a whole nother thing of recruiting, has, so this exposure obviously is a plus. And but you don't think about that so much at this time. You really just focus on your players and what it means to your players right now, and that's where you have to keep the focus. It's just not looking too far ahead in the regional. I don't look too far ahead to recruiting. We're here to play baseball, and everything that we think about is how we can help this team win.
All right, our next question will go to Joe. Joe, please go ahead.
Hi, Coach. Joe Nugent from WOWT-TV here in Omaha. I want to ask you a sentimental question about your dad and knowing what it meant to him in 2013 to make the run. Do you find it magical in some way that you guys were able to find a way to do it this year?
Losing my dad in January. I always thought, he was 93, would have been 94 March 5th. There's so many things synonymous with that. I used to dip my whole life. I quit dipping on March 5th through the Copenhagen in the trash can and swore I'd never do it again, and I haven't, and that was for my dad. My dad meant the world to me. The best man I've ever known, kindest, gentlest man that many people have known. And that was tough. But, when we were 1-8, sometimes I'd think about, I always thought I'd lose my dad in the fall because he only lived to watch us play and to watch the Yankees on TV. He never missed a Yankee game, never missed our game. And I thought that's the only thing he was living for. I always thought I'd lose him in the fall. But when he made it through January, I was just so crushed and so befuddled. He got this close to the season, and it happened. But when we were 1-8 in conference, I thought maybe Daddy just didn't want to stick around and watch us play because it was too hard. And now, where we are now, I think maybe he retired early so he could help me in a different place, get this team to do some special things. And I think every day a lot of this is attributed to him.
Thank you, Coach. We'll take a few more questions here. Let's go ahead to Jared.
Elliott, not to drudge up bad memories or anything like that, but when you walk back into TD Ameritrade, do you still ever think to yourself, how in the world did that ball Trey hit not go out of the park?
Yeah, Trey and I both do. I've never jumped out of the dugout in my life. Even the ball Torres hit at Arkansas, it was crushed, but I'm like, I hope it's out of here. I hope it's out of here. And when Trey hit that ball in 2013, I jumped out of the dugout when that ball was caught. And we also had a ball hit there's one brick. I meant to look for that brick today and couldn't find it. I forgot about it. I was out talking to all the announcers. I have so much fun talking to those guys. And we had a brick that the ball caromed off of, and Jake Armstrong got thrown out at the plate in that 2-1 loss to UCLA, and UCLA goes on to win the national championship. So I think about those things, but I think about that Trey Turner home run because that ball was absolutely crushed, and Trey thinks about it too.
Thank you, Coach. We will wait just a couple more seconds if there are any additional questions. If so, please use the raise hand function. We have looks like we don't have any more questions. Oh, there's one from Bill. Bill, please go ahead.
Yes, unmuting now. Can you hear me, Coach?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Sorry about that. Joe beat me to the sentimental story. Sorry to hear about your dad, but we're doing a feature on Father's Day, and I know your dad meant everything to you. You don't have to rehash that. But what branch of the military was he in, and what are you going to think on Father's Day?
Did you say what branch of the military?
Yeah, I have a picture of him in the military that your folks were happy to send to me, and I'm going to use that as part of it. And I just can't figure out what branch he was in.
My daddy was in the Navy, and I love the military. It just not only does it protect our freedoms and protect our great country, but at times me and my daddy used to joke, and maybe he was using me as an example. When you get out of high school, 18 years old, you're not mature enough. You have no idea what you want to do in life, and maybe everybody should spend a year in the military to serve their country and maybe to grow up a little bit and get a little more discipline and accountability and learn what life is all about. But he served the Navy, and at his funeral, when they handed my mama that flag, that meant a lot to me. And I have a room in my house where all the great people that I've lost over the last couple years, from Chris Combs, who played for me and succumbed to ALS, and Bruce Winkworth, my longtime SID and friend, and George Tarantini, my great friend and longtime great soccer coach at NC State. I have a little room that's dedicated to them and my dad, and I have that flag that sits on my dad's place in that room, and it means a lot to me. And Father's Day will be very special still, and anyway, I appreciate the question.
All right, Coach Avent, it looks like that will do for questions. We know you've had a busy day today, so we really appreciate you taking time to speak with the media. Just as a reminder for the media, a recording of this press conference will be listed on the NCAA Digital Media Hub at www.ncaa.veritone.com. Thank you all for